If you have not read this book, please stop listening now.
This episode contains major spoilers for Cinderella Is Dead.
Go purchase this book or check it out at your local library.
Then come back and listen to the episode. Welcome to Our Life in Books, where we talk about our lives, books, and everything in between. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Samantha. And we're cousins! Today we are deep diving into Cinderella Is Dead by Kalynn Bayron.
And we're not drinking tea because it's hot.
Yes.
It's summertime, and again, we haven't made iced tea.
No, we really do need to do that.
I really thought about it yesterday. I thought really hard about it.
You got some effort in there. That's closer than we've gotten.
Didn't do it.
And we have to turn off the air,
I got overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, what am I going to put it in? Do I have a pitcher? Like, what?
That's an adult thing.
And then I'm going to need, like, more than one tea ball because you have to have a bunch of tea.
See, I've never made it. I've only seen your mom make it.
Well, and then I looked up instructions, and you can make it hot brew just like you make normal tea. Hot water, and then let it cool to room temperature, and then put it in the fridge. Or you can cold brew it.
Oh. I feel like we already do the first one because we just forget to drink our tea.
Right.
Oh, so what are you reading?
Okay, so I started You Are Not Alone by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen.
And you're in love with their writing.
Well, I haven't read their first book. Their first one is The Wife Between Us.
Oh, I thought you had read that.
Not yet. I read An Anonymous Girl.
Oh, okay.
And I really freaking loved it. I'm pretty sure I have The Wife Between Us. I haven't read it yet. But
yes.
You Are Not Alone is so good.
I like the cover a lot.
And I really love, because it's a thriller.
Yes.
And you know how I don't like to read synopses right before I read the book.
Yeah.
But also I feel like thriller synopsises are the worst because you're supposed to like not really know what's going on.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. So we don't want to read this.
Well, I think their synopsises are amazing.
Oh, okay. Good.
Because it doesn't give a lot away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically like when you start the book, you kind of have no idea what's happening.
Ooh.
One of the main characters, Shay, she watches a girl jump in front of a subway and kill herself. And then because of that, she gets wrapped up into all this other stuff. But like, I'm 40% of the way through the book and I still don't quite know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like why that girl killed herself and what she was wrapped up in. Because you just get like little snippets of it. It's so good.
I wonder how these two write together too. I think that's also fascinating.
Yes. Because, yeah, I don't know how it works. I don't know how to go about writing a book on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring another person into it with all their ideas.
Exactly.
And, like, who does the writing? Or do they sit together when they write? Or
and, like, what if there's, like, an issue?
Right.
How do they resolve it?
And I think, because this one is told from different perspectives. Mm-hmm. And I want to say...
Like, they each take a perspective?
Anonymous Girl was writ from different... Writ? I say that written from different perspectives. So maybe that's what they do.
Yeah.
Maybe they each take like.
Oh, I love that.
But it's consistent. It's not like the book feels like every chapter is written by a different person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but I like it. What are you reading?
I am getting to read Don't Ask Me Where I'm From by Jennifer D. Leon. We got this from Simon and Schuster. Rit. So we're going to do this for our next book deep dive, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So this is our first book deep dive on the regular podcast.
Yes, because we did a couple on Patreon, and we really love them, and I think we just want to share them with everybody. We might do some special ones over on Patreon still, but these are like kind of become a regular thing.
Yeah. So the next book we're going to read, just so you guys know a full month in advance this time, is Don't Ask Me Where I'm From by Jennifer DeLeon. And that episode will come out August 28th.
Yes, that is correct.
So if you want to get that book and get it read ahead of time, do it.
Yes.
It comes out August
14th.
Yeah.
Or 4th. Sorry. 4th. I don't really want to read too much into it because I'm reading it right now, but the first little blurb, it says, first generation American Latinx Lillian Cruz does what it takes to fit in our new nearly all-white school. But when family secrets spill out and racism at school ramps up, she must decide what she believes in and take a stand.
sounds really good.
It sounds
like
so good.
one of those books that is going to make us feel like
fiery.
Yes. And like going out and doing something.
Yes. I love those kind of books. So yeah, now you guys know. We'll try to let you guys know a month ahead of time to kind of so you can read it.
Prepare.
Yes. Go check it out from the library. Order it. Buy the Kindle book. Whatever to support the author. All right.
You ready?
Yes. I'm so excited. This book was so good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So this is the deep dive into Cinderella Is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. I knew I was going to do that. And another spoiler alert warning. We already did one at the beginning, but again, like if you haven't read this, don't go any farther. Like go read the book and come back because we are going to be discussing in depth this book.
Yes, there will be spoilers abound. Like it's like the whole thing is gonna be spoilers.
Yes, basically from when we started just talking now, it's gonna be spoilers. But first we want to go learn about the author. You watched a Juneteenth book fest. I watched part of it.
So what is her name? Oh my gosh. LL McKinney put together Juneteenth Book Fest.
And LL McKinney wrote A Blade So Black and A Dream So Dark.
Yes. And you can find all the videos from Juneteenth Book Fest on YouTube. They have a YouTube channel.
Or go down below.
Yep, we'll link it down below. But Kalynn Bayron was in the video for I thought I wrote down what it was called.
Oh, I can't remember what it's
called.
called either.
The video is called something about mythology.
Oh.
My Mythology, Reclaiming Stories of Old. So it's her, LL McKinney, Brittany C. Morrow, and Tracy Dion.
Yes.
We said LL McKinney wrote A Blade So Black. Bethany C. Morrow wrote A Song Below Water. And Tracy Dion wrote Legend Born.
Yes, which oh my God, I'm so glad I got it on NetGalley.
So the four of them are talking about their books and how I think all four of their books are based in different mythologies and stuff. So it's really interesting to listen to. So
like how they went from their cover art and just like their process.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Mm-hmm. All of the videos you should go watch.
Yes.
So we linked below Kalynn's website. So I'm going to read her bio. Let's see. Short bio or long bio? Both. Kalynn is an author and a classically trained vocalist. She grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. When she's not writing, you can find her listening to Ella Fitzgerald on loop, attending the theater, watching scary movies, and spending time with her kids. She currently lives in San Antonio, Texas with her family.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of a longer one. I was born in Kansas and grew up in Anchorage, Alaska, where ice skating and cross-country skiing were PE activities in the winter. I'm pretty sure my dad, Errol, was the first black man to set foot on a glacier. Growing up, I played a lot of soccer and loved anything to do with music. I played clarinet and studied ballet for years. I studied opera in college and still hope to make my dream of performing come true one day.
Wow.
Yeah, talented. My musical taste would be best described as eclectic. Right now, I have a playlist that includes Smokey Robinson, the Chi-Lites, Earth, Wind and Fire, Faith Evans, Mary J. Blige, Lauryn Hill, and Maya. My dad's musical influences and my nostalgia for the 90s show up anytime I'm handed the aux. I've always been a writer, a reader. I wrote songs when I was younger, poetry, short stories that were hot garbage, and lots of fan fiction. I read everything I could get my hands on. I wanted to write, and most of the stories I'd been exposed to had only black or brown people like me as side characters. Are you on the same website?
Yes.
Do you want us to take over? Because this is a lot.
It wasn't until I decided to write the books I wanted to see, the ones that showed black girls in leading roles, that my writing came alive. Imbued with all the richness of my own culture and experiences, I felt like I'd found what I was meant to do. I love banana pudding. I make it from scratch like my pops taught me. Mac and cheese, no breadcrumbs or we fightin', and sweet tea. I love musical theater and am currently obsessed with Hadestown. I want to see Hamilton, but the way my bank account is set up, basically I'm going to have to be in the show to see it. My hope is to provide an opportunity to readers to see themselves reflected in my work and take heart that they too can be heroes of their own stories.
Oh, I love it.
I do too. She's so interesting.
All right, so now we're gonna. Do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure.
Okay, because I read a lot of her bio.
So it's 200 years after, not before. It's 200 years after Cinderella found her prince, but the fairy tale is over. Teen girls are now required to appear at the annual ball where the men of the kingdom select wives based on a girl's display of finery. If a suitable match is not found, the girls not chosen are never heard from again. 16-year-old Sophia would much rather marry Aaron, her childhood best friend, than parade in front of suitors. At the ball, Sophia makes the desperate decision to flee and finds herself hiding in Cinderella's mausoleum. There she meets Constance, the last known descendant of Cinderella and her stepsisters. Together, they vow to bring down the king once and for all, and in the process, they learn that there's more to Cinderella's story than they ever knew. This fresh take on a classic story will make readers question the tales they've been told and root for girls to break down the constructs of the world around them.
Oh, it's so good.
It's very good.
Yeah, and that is perfect. Like, when I read it now that I know what happens, I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we always try to do like a brief summary of the book.
I just feel like we just go through all of it.
We just go through all of it. We can't help it. We need to discuss it because we haven't talked about it with each other or anybody else. So it's like, I want to go over it with you.
Okay, so
where do we even start?
So the opening scene is Sophia hiding in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
She is hiding
with Aaron.
Right. Her and Aaron had snuck off to talk.
Yep.
Before the ball, because Sophia is always trying to get Aaron to run away.
Mm-hmm.
How do you pronounce the town that they live in?
So I held it down and did like the translation.
Oh,
and it's
they're all
Lille.
French. They're French names.
Yeah.
So Lille, Marseille,
Lille.
And there was another one. That's a French. They're French.
Yeah. So
words.
It's Lille.
Okay.
So you were saying it right.
I wasn't.
Oh,
I was saying Lily.
I was saying Lille, and then I like held it down. And I was like Lille.
Okay. So the opening scene is them, hiding in the forest from, what do they call them? Is it like guards?
Guards, yeah.
Because they know if they're caught, a lot of times, like girls who are caught they're just never seen again.
Yes.
Caught doing anything bad.
Caught out by themselves.
Right. So that's the opening scene. So you kind of know right away, like, this is going to be intense.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they almost get caught and they find someone else in the forest or whatever and take them away, the guards. And then she goes back to her house. Oh no, she goes to the getting fitted.
Oh
for
yeah,
her
yeah.
gown.
Well, she does go back to her house first because she has to clean up.
Oh yeah, because she
fell.
fell.
She's covered in mud
Mm-hmm.
and she's dirty and so she has to go to her house to clean up. She's meeting her mom to get fitted for her gown for the ball.
Yes, and so like all these families like spend their like life savings
Mm-hmm.
on these dresses in this night just so that their daughters have a chance to survive.
Right. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about getting married off to somebody.
Yes. And some people think, oh, it is actually like marriage, like they need to get married. And some of it's like they don't want to see their daughters killed.
Right. Or
what is it, forfeit or whatever?
Forfeit.
Forfeit, thank you.
So, so they have, is it 3 years? They have 3 years.
But hardly anyone's ever done a third year.
Right. They have 3 years to attend the ball and find a husband. And if they don't by the third year, then they get forfeit.
Yes.
And the girls who are forfeit are basically never seen again.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the rumor is that they're sent off to another
to go
city
work
to
or
work.
something like that. But and all the money like comes back to their family. But like, yeah, they never are heard from again.
No.
And so you meet Aaron again, as well as their friend Liv.
Yes.
Who's on her second year
Mm-hmm.
and is like hoping and like you're told to like read Cinderella and
so
talk to the fairy godmother. And
so this is what I wrote down.
Jubbly-doo.
The Cinderella story is like their Bible.
Mm.
All the kids are taught the story from, childhood, from the time they're babies. They're taught the story. They read the story all the time. They're made to recite the story.
They have
frequently.
like pictures up in their houses of the prince and Cinderella.
Yeah, they have to know. Like they have to know all the details of it.
Yes.
Because even the girls at the ball will get quizzed on it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like their sacred text. You can't say anything against it.
Nope.
It's wild.
It is wild.
But so they base everything in their life around it.
Yes.
So like all the girls are going to the ball to find their Prince Charming, and they all want to be visited by a fairy godmother, just like Cinderella was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what Liv is hoping for.
Yes, Liv is like carrying around a replica of the fairy godmother's wand, and Sophia is like looking like,
well, Sophia's like, it's a stick.
Yeah, like
it's just
she's never believed, or she tried and she just doesn't see like.
Yeah, it's like she's always kind of seen through it, and she's always been very like questioning,
yes,
and wants to know the answers to like why do we follow this? Why is this like our guide to life?
Yes, exactly.
And then obviously Sophia likes other girls.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was looking for my highlight. It says, when I was 12, I was 12 when I told my parents that I would much rather find a princess than a prince. And her parents weren't mad about it. They were just like, you can't. Like, you have to hide. They told her to hide who she was.
Right. They're kind of like, cool, but you can't do anything about that.
Exactly. You have to follow the law.
And if you don't, you could be killed.
Sorry.
It's never going to work.
I'm trying to kill it. I'm sorry. Yeah, so then she goes to the dressmaker shop and she sees a bruise on the dressmaker's neck. And everyone kind of just tells her to, like, ignore it. And that's when she kind of realizes that, like, there are worse fates than being forfeit.
Right. Well, and even being married, like, it's not just a marriage. You're not just, like...
your property.
Yeah. 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 And no one says anything about it. No one does anything about it.
And basically her parents are just hoping that she finds a guy like her dad who will just be good.
Right.
They're hopeful. Yeah, so so
the days leading up to the ball too, they have like almost like a fair where they have different booths set up. So that's where Liv got like her wand.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got they have like replicas of different stuff. They have glass slippers, they have jewelry you can buy. There's all this, it's a big thing leading up to the ball.
Yes. Because it's trying to hide, the actual like undertones, how awful it is by like decorating with pretty things.
Yes. Okay. I'm trying to like look at all my highlights because I try to highlight like all the big story points.
Oh yeah, so did I. Or highlight things that were like interesting to me. And then so she has this young boy who always takes her to and from like things in town.
Yes.
And he's always smiling at her and stuff, and she's always like learned to like, oh, like do not let any boys like advance on you. Not that she even like likes boys, but she just is so afraid of what they'll do to her.
She kind of views them all as like predatory.
Yes, very predatory. And so she's like very like does not want to be around this boy, but her mom's like, oh, like take him to town. I forgot ribbons at the dress shop and I want you to go. And she's like, no, I can walk. And she's like, no, you can't go alone. Like,
yeah, because the girls are not allowed to be out alone, especially after a certain time.
And they have curfew. Yeah, curfew was at 6. It was at like 8, but then they moved it back 2 hours, something like that. And the women have to be in their house with the doors locked just for their protection. Yeah.
Because it's for their protection because this happens before this. So I want to say this real quick. As she's walking through town to get to the dressmaker shop to meet her mom, they see like a burn mark next to the fountain.
Oh, yeah.
Someone had tried to destroy the fountain.
Yes.
I think, doesn't the fountain have does it have a statue of the king or something?
No, it's a statue of Cinderella, I want to say.
Okay. But someone tried to destroy it.
Or her pumpkin, whatever.
And I had highlighted this part because it said 6 girls have either disappeared or bodies have been found since the leaves started to turn. A girl just like the others. I try to tally up how many young women have turned up dead in, what is it? Leal. In the years since I've been old enough to understand such things. The dead number in the dozens, but the missing are more than I can count.
Yeah. I did highlight the laws.
Oh, yeah.
A minimum of 1 pristine copy of Cinderella will be kept in every household. The annual ball is a mandatory event. 3 trips are permitted, after which attendees are considered forfeit. Participants in unlawful and sanctioned unions will be considered forfeit. All members of households in Marseille are required to designate 1 male of legal age to be the head of the household, and his name will be registered with the place. All activities undertaken by any member of the household must be sanctioned by the head of house. For their protection, women and children must be in their permanent place of residency by the stroke of 8 each night. A copy of all applicable laws and decrees, along with the approved portrait of His Majesty, will be displayed in every household at all times.
Also, the men, the head of household, whatever,
Yeah.
can just like forfeit their wives.
Oh yeah.
When they're tired of them.
Yep. If they'll like get, say they did a crime and forfeit
them, and then they just go to the ball and pick another younger lady. Anyway, okay, so back to Luke and her driving her to
so
town.
she meets Luke, and he brings a wagon where she has to like sit up with him, and she's annoyed, and she's sitting there like trying to think of ways to attack him if he touches her. And she just says like there's something about him that is like intriguing. And she goes, they get to the dressmaker shop, and she walks in, and there's a little boy crying, and she goes to comfort him, and she kind of like
aren't all the lights off, and like it's not, it doesn't look like it's open anymore, and he's just crying under the table. Yeah, and her instincts are to like help, to do something. And so she finds her ribbons, and she goes upstairs and is like, oh, I was looking for, like, interrupts this woman getting like beat by her husband. Yeah. And kind of says like, oh, I need your help downstairs or whatever. And then so she like, the guy is mad, but the dressmaker comes down and coddles her son and then says, oh, your dad's a good man. Yeah. In front of him, because that's what they're taught to do, And so she doesn't know if she'd intervene and if it was okay to intervene, but she couldn't not. Right. It's kind of a horrifying scene. It is. Because, yeah, I mean, that kid is terrified, and she can hear the woman yelling. And, the pushing and stuff going on upstairs. And, yeah, it's scary. Yeah, so she goes back with Luke waiting, and they kind of get to know each other on this trip and kind of divulge their secrets to each other. Because she kind of finds out Luke really isn't someone she has to worry about. No, exactly. And then like Luke kind of opens up to her and says, because he's been around and he's been watching her and her mom, and he says, when I go to the ball, when I think of the story, I don't want to end up with Cinderella, I want to end up with a prince. And so she finally is like, oh, like there's other people like me that don't want to just like. And Luke already knows. Yes. That she likes girls. Because he overheard their moms talking. So he already knows. So they become this like friendship in a way. So that's like kind of comforting, I think, to her to know that there's not. But he also even says like, I can live out my days by myself, and that's okay, but you can't. Well, and he tells her about his love, the boy that he was in love with, and didn't he disappear? His parents forfeit him when they found out about him and Luke, and so that like crushed Luke's heart, and it was because of these two bullies. Well, and they encounter those guys, and so a lot of people know about Luke. Yes. Like obviously it's still dangerous for him, not as dangerous as it is for Sophia, but exactly it's still dangerous for him. Yeah. So yeah, they have that encounter, and then she kind of has a talk with her mom, and she kind of like is like, Mom, like stand up for me. I think she just wants someone to agree with her and agree to like having her run away, but everyone's so afraid to step out and then also they just want to protect her. So her mom really just doesn't like, I mean, her mom agrees, she can tell her mom like agrees that this isn't right, but she's like, we just want you to survive. Everyone just wants to survive. Right. This is a quote I pulled when she when the dressmaker's husband finds her in the shop and is like, what are you doing? He says, watch yourself before I send you up to the palace to be forfeited. And it says, he can do it. Any head of household could. The only person who can disagree is another head of household. Money, power, class, all those things come into play, but the founding tenet of our laws is that women, no matter their standing, are at the mercy of the fickle whims of men. That's how little control I have over my own life. Yep. And then when she's having the talk with her mom, I highlighted what she said. Let's see. Sorry, I had it and then I lost it. Happiness is a bonus, Sophia. You're not entitled to it, and the sooner you accept that, the easier your life will be. I have that one highlighted too. Yep. Because it's just so... It's heartbreaking. It is. That her mother is saying that to her, yeah. And she always talks about her grandmother too.
Yeah,
it
her
sounds
grandmother
like-
was very much like her.
Yeah, she said her grandma always talked about the ball, saying things like, if Sophia goes to the ball.
If we're still doing this kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, it says, when she would speak about the ball, she never made it seem like it was something that was inevitable. She always used the word if when she spoke about it. If the day came for Sophia to go to the ball, if we were still doing this when young Sophia got older, it was her Spitfire spirit, her hatred of the way Leo was run that got her killed.
Yeah. Ugh.
Okay,
yeah.
so
she goes to bed, gets woken up at 5 a.m. and is immediately like, it kind of reminds me of Mulan.
Yeah.
When they like put her through the dress and they give her bathed and they do all this stuff to her. Like,
right,
that's exactly.
I don't know how many women, I can't remember. It was like 6 women or 4 women or something show up at her house.
4 plus her mom.
Yeah.
But it's like Mulan where they like put her in a bath and they like do her all up and she's just like, none of this is what I want. Like, not that I would ever want this, but like none of this, like the dress.
She's basically kind of standing there letting them do whatever.
Yeah.
And it's hours because it's early in the morning and the ball's not till evening.
Yeah.
And she's like, why are we starting this early?
Right. And she's like, I want to lay in bed and with her and, just wish I wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets all ready and her mom arranges for her and Aaron to have one last coach ride to the ball together. Mm-hmm. Kind of a say goodbye, which broke my heart.
It just seems like it was way more painful than if they hadn't rode together.
Right. Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, that broke my heart because in it, she realizes that, that Aaron's not going to run with her.
Right.
She wants to run, but Aaron doesn't want to. I highlighted a couple things. Aaron said, my parents have made it clear that if I put one foot out of line, they'll take me to the palace as forfeit. And they're fighting. And this is why I said I cheered up. Because you're selfish, Aaron said bluntly. Because you've never once stopped to think that maybe I don't want to be different. I don't want to stick out. Accept it.
Right. Because they have very different mindsets.
They do.
Sophia is
a rebel.
And she's okay with who she is. Mm-hmm. She's very happy about it and proud. And she doesn't
I agree.
see that it's a problem. But Erin doesn't want to be the way she is.
No, she wants to be. She wants to blend normal, quote unquote, or blend in, or go with whatever everyone's doing and saying.
Right. This is the other quote I pulled from about the carriage ride.
Yeah.
It said, the carriage, decorated with lavender curtains and matching ribbons, sits there like a beautiful vision, ready to ferry me into a nightmare.
Yeah. That was another. Yeah. It was just and so they go to the ball and they and you even tell they're 2 different points of view. Like Aaron is like, whoa, it's so beautiful, and Sophia's like, this is awful. I don't want to go. No, this is not okay.
Right. And I think she's still taken in with the splendor of it all
because it's
right. It's not what they're used to, but so it is kind of like what I think. If she didn't have the, I don't know, the Spitfire attitude or she didn't have all the, what do I want to say? Skepticism about it.
Yeah.
I think she would have been more awed by the spectacle.
Yeah.
Like everyone else was.
But she's a realist. She was like, no, it's pretty and and it's awing, but I know what's coming and I don't want it. So yeah, they go into the ball and there's all of these girls there and they get lined up and then all the suitors come in and she recognizes that some of them are old enough to be your grandfather.
Right.
It's not all young men with these young girls. They're old men.
Well, and even as the girls are filing in, you would think at this time they would all be kind of a united front, but they're not.
No.
And there's especially one girl that just keeps glaring at her and, giving her a hard time. And Sophia says, money won't keep your future husband from using you as he sees fit. Your privilege won't keep you safe. You and I are exactly the same in the eyes of the king and the suitors.
Yeah.
Because the one girl is just so rude.
Because she's brought up in this household that she thinks she's better than everyone. And Sophia's like, no.
We're all the same.
We're all the same. We don't get a say. You're just the same as I. You're not going to get this handsome prince. And you're not going to get the prince live happy ever after. We're going to get crap.
Right. We're going to be owned by someone else.
Basically.
So they all file in. And all the girls have to line up in a line together so that everyone can see them, and then the men come in and they're all announced.
Yeah,
all the like the top tier men are announced. And then once they get down to the men who don't have money, then they're just kind of like, and the rest of these guys.
Yeah.
But so the men come, and it's almost like an auction or something, because the women are lined up and then the men are in front of them so that they can see each one of them.
Yeah, it's awful.
Ugh. Ugh. But so
this is the worst.
Yeah, so the king, he's like giving his speech or whatever.
Yep, looking around at everybody.
And he calls out a girl he says is not wearing proper formal wear, basically. Yeah. And it's Liv.
Yeah.
Her parents don't have a lot of money. I think they tried their best the year before already.
Yeah. And Liv never really talked about what happened. They think that she was like chosen, but then at the last minute someone chose someone else instead, because she's not ugly. She's a beautiful girl. It's just she doesn't have her parents have she has other sisters. Like her parents don't have the money to do it again.
Right.
And so she makes her own dress.
She
it makes
has
you
a
just
simple,
like want to cry.
Simple white dress
with baby's breath in her.
Yeah.
So it's still beautiful.
Right.
It's just not
but it's
gaudy.
Plain.
It's plain. And so he goes up to her and basically like embarrasses her, and she's like pleading and saying she did all the right things, which she did. She did all the right things that she was supposed to do.
Right. And she even told him she was just hoping for a fairy godmother to help her. Yeah. Just like Cinderella.
And he says, well, you're a pretty face, but your outfit won't do. Take her away.
Yep. So the guards come and take Liv.
And everyone's like, I mean, she like Sophia steps forward. Like she's like, no, and like she gets told to be put back in line. In her mind, she doesn't even know what her fate is. She's like, oh, like maybe she's just getting kicked out of the ball. Right. I think that's what she thinks. So she's just gonna get kicked out of the ball and have to come back again the third year. Right. So, the ball continues. Well, she actually looks across the way and sees Luke.
Did you know like right away when she saw Luke, like what?
Oh, yeah, I definitely knew what he was there for. I'm like, I love him.
So, yeah, she talks to Luke and finds out his plan was to come to the ball and pick her and choose her.
And he's like, if that's okay. He's like, then we can be together and we can run away. And then, like, we can be free of this place. But we can do it together. And then, like, no one will know. And she's like, yes, I'm down.
Well, and then she's with someone safe.
Yes. And that's what he wants.
It's not going to beat her.
Exactly. And so she's like, well, can we take Aaron? And he's like, we can try.
Right. But she goes... What does she do? She goes off to the bathroom for some reason, and she's going to meet back up with him. Yeah. And when she comes out, he is being confronted by the two bully brothers.
Yeah, and we don't even care to say their names. No. I don't remember them.
Edward is one of them.
Yeah. And the guy with the missing teeth.
Yeah. But yeah, he's being confronted by them, and I think it's Edward is the one that's saying, like, you took the girl I planned on getting.
No, it was the bucktooth
guy. Oh, okay.
Because then he knocks his teeth out earlier. Yeah. And so she, like, there's a confrontation, and she, like, throws a drink on them or whatever, and basically he goes and tattles because he is higher rank and said that he also was going for Sophia, and since
their family has more money
and Luke's poor, that he gets dragged off as well. Yeah. And so it's basically like at that point when the toothless guy grabs her and says like she can't take it anymore, she's like, no, like she panics. Yeah. And she needs him.
Well, you would, because like two of your best friends have just been dragged away. Yeah. Your one out that you thought you were gonna have is gone.
Like you had like this moment. It's like Harry Potter when Sirius says he's gonna live with him, and then he dies. Spoilers if you haven't listened to Harry Potter or watched Harry Potter or read it. It's like that moment where you have that glimmer of how this is gonna go.
Everything's set up.
Yes.
And then it's all taken away.
And it gets taken away. And so yeah, so she knees that guy in his junk, and she runs. And she runs to the bathroom, and she shimmies out of the bathroom window and just runs, and doesn't have a plan, doesn't have anything. She's just trying to get away. She's like, I don't know what else to do, but I know if I stay here, it's not going to be good.
But in her attempt to flee, she comes across a locked door in the castle and hears a voice on the other side.
Yes, and they say, run away, don't ever come back, save yourself. And she's like, she feels bad that she's going to leave him, but she hears people coming, and so she just takes off and falls through the roof, doesn't she?
Yeah. So, but this is when she runs to Cinderella's mausoleum.
Yes. And she's heard, like, she heard it didn't exist or doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, rumors in the town, and people think it doesn't exist anymore. But she finds that people obviously do know about it because there's all these little notes and stuff left
trinkets,
for Cinderella.
yeah, and just basically people asking like to give them luck and to help their daughters like survive. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like sad. It reminds me of like that wall in, is it Paris or Rome, where they have that Juliet wall where they leave the notes.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of.
Right, we did that at BookCon.
Yeah.
But so she hears people coming after her, and she goes inside the mausoleum.
Yes.
And this is where she meets Constance.
Oh yeah. So she meets Constance, this fiery red-headed girl who's just like, kind of like is a little. She's confident, but she's still weary of her. Yeah.
And Constance is wearing pants, which is not a thing that women are allowed to wear.
And I just love that. My favorite was when Sophia's like, "Why are you wearing this?" She goes, "It has pockets." I'm like, "That's me."
That's so perfect.
That's every girl.
But yeah, and I think that's really interesting too. Is that like everyone who Sophia encounters, she's very wary of. Yeah. I mean, as she should be, considering all the crap that goes down.
Yeah, but she still has like that chance to like give them a chance to open up to her.
Yeah. Okay. I'm fuzzy. It's been a couple days, but
sorry, and I just got done because that's how we are. You can tell she read it a couple days. I just finished reading it.
Well, is it before or after she meets Constance that I think it's after that she sees Liv.
Yeah. So what happens is that she tells her to stay in the mausoleum, gives her pants, like gives her extra pants and stuff to wear, and says, "Meet me at this certain place, like this road, at dawn. Take off for that road." Mm-hmm. And so she's on her way there, and she can't help but think, "I just want to go home and see my parents. I just want to tell them I'm okay and that I'm like who doesn't want to go home?"
Right.
That's
instinct. She knows they're going to be looking for her, but she has to
try.
She has to let her know. Yes. Her parents know she's alive.
Exactly. So she shows up home, and it doesn't go as she planned.
She sees Liv before she gets home, doesn't she?
I thought she saw Liv after.
Okay, maybe you're right.
I did just read it. So basically, which like broke my heart because I didn't see this happening. I did, but like her mom was so like stoic before that I didn't see her like breaking down. But like I highlighted a couple things. But like basically her dad's like the one who's like, "You put us in a terrible position and like we can't, you're gonna be forfeit and all this stuff." And her mom just like breaks down and is like, "No, I'll not allow it." She clings to her, digging her fingers into her back. And she's like, "Wait, we can," and then her dad's like, "You need to leave." And she's like, "Wait," my mother says, rushing to block the door, "Please, we can hide her. We can make her apologize to the king. We can." And then her dad's like, "She has to go." And then she's like, "Stop." And you can just hear like her mom just like crying. And then her dad says, "I can't protect you here. Neither can your mother. You have to go or we will all be dead." So basically she's like, "Oh, okay. So like you would rather like me go off and like die other than all of you." And he's basically like, "Yeah."
Right.
So that's kind of awful, like hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And then so after that, she's walking. She leaves her house and there's like
she has to be like super incognito this whole time.
Yeah. So she's like, like on the off of the road, and she sees all of these guards. Yeah. And she hears like a wagon or whatever, and then she hears those guys talking, and one of the guards even like, "That's someone's daughter. Don't talk about that," which is nice that there are some men like that. And everyone's like, she was at the ball. She looks old, like commenting or whatever. And so they're like, "We're gonna go get the cart." And so when they go, she like walks up and she said she puts a hand over her mouth and it's Liv. But Liv doesn't look like Liv. Liv has hair is white. Her skin is shriveled up and gray. Her arms are drawn up in front of her. Her hands are rigid, fingers curled in the claws, like she is scared.
Yeah. It's like she's aged.
And looks like she died in pain.
Right.
So that's awful. To see your best friend who you just saw and you thought, "Oh, everything's going to be fine." Like, no.
Right. And she's like, "I've never seen a dead body before."
No.
And the first one she sees is one of her best
friends. Yeah. So then she keeps walking and she finds Constance. Constance actually waited for her, which is so awesome. And Constance takes her to Cinderella's house, like where she grew up with the quote-unquote evil stepsisters,
Right.
the quote-unquote evil stepmom.
So the house has been, like, falling down.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, there's enough of it still standing that this is where Constance is kind of, like, camped out.
Yeah. And they kind of, like, they're trying to just, like, make a plan. You know? I mean, I can't,
Well, this is kind of where they're kind of sharing their experiences. Because Constance did not grow up in Leal.
So, yeah.
She's been kind of raised in the wild.
Yeah.
She is a descendant of one of the stepsisters.
I think it's
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle? Yep, you're right. Giselle. Where did Giselle come from? I think she's a model.
Yeah, Giselle Bundchen.
Okay, yep, there we go. Okay, it's Gabrielle.
Yeah, she's a descendant of Gabrielle, one of the two stepsisters of Cinderella. And she's been told a much different story than Sophia has been told about Cinderella.
So do they tell the story basically that, like, the evil stepsisters weren't evil?
No.
And that Cinderella and the stepsisters and the stepmom, like, all banded together and wanted to fight.
Along.
Yeah, they wanted to fight the prince.
Well, and that's why they're labeled as evil. And so Cinderella's mom was killed by the prince.
Yep.
Her dad was killed by the prince.
Because they both tried to stand up to him because they were the next heir to the throne before he came.
Right. And yeah, the stepmom and the stepsisters were never evil.
No, they tried to fight for Cinderella, and Cinderella fought with them. Yeah, so that's, like, a really big eye-opening, like, part to the story. And so basically they start, like, talking about, like, their plan, what they should do, like, if they should run or whatnot. I did highlight 2 quotes. That Constance says, the palace underestimates the resourcefulness of women forced into dark and dangerous places.
Ooh.
And then, let's see, and then she says, I think we need to burn the whole thing to the ground and start over. The entire system, the ideals that have been woven into society, it all has to go. So they start making a plan. And their plan is to basically try to find the fairy godmother.
Right.
Because they know all the stories of everybody except for the fairy godmother, and so they're like, okay, we need to find out her story.
And all they know is there's a rumor that she's in the White Wood.
Yeah, in the center of the White Wood. Well, they figure just go to the center, and then, you know, you have to run into her.
In the White Wood is one of those places that like, nobody goes. No one's allowed to go.
Mm-hmm. There's, like, guard towers guarding it. Like, it's a very scary place.
Yeah, it's one of those places that they kind of tell children, like, not to go into the woods.
And it's told that, like, that's where the king's heirs come from. Is
Whitewood?
Over, not Whitewood, but, like, over, like, that way past the Whitewood, or, like, on the other. No, it's not the Whitewood, the other way. So that's why there's not as much fortified structures by the Whitewood. Because the other way, where there is a bunch, is, like, where, like, the king says he gets his, like, predecessors.
Yeah, his, because he doesn't have heirs. He never has heirs. But there's always a new prince, and it always comes from a faraway land.
Yeah, and he's chosen by the prince. Yep. Mm-hmm. So they make their way to the woods. They first have to stop in town to get food and supplies because it's going to be like a 4-day trip. Mm-hmm. And while they're in town,
and they're both dressed as boys.
Yes, they're best dressed as very pretty boys. Is what a lot of people are like. You guys are too, gorgeous. And everyone's like, and I remember Constance is like, what's wrong with that? Okay. So they go into town, and Sophie is very, like, hesitant. She definitely gets the attention of the guy she buys rice from. Not on purpose, but she
doesn't want to talk very much because she's like, I obviously have a female voice. But so she tries, but he notices.
Yeah. And so on the way back to her cart, she sees Aaron. And this part, like, broke my heart. But Aaron's sitting there with, like, a black eye and bruises. And she gets her attention. Aaron comes over and is, like, basically like, I'm married, like, or I'm engaged, like, I was chosen, this what I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to be happy, right? Like, this is me. And, like, she cries and she tries to get her to come with, and she won't.
Yeah, like I said, you can tell that they're very different people. Aaron doesn't want to be gay, you know?
Yeah, no, she does not want to be gay, yeah.
She wants to be, quote-unquote, normal and just, like, live like everybody else does.
And so...
But she got chosen by a monster.
Yeah, she got chosen by, It starts with an E. We just said
Edward.
it. Edward. And he's obviously an abusive jerk.
Uh-huh.
So she goes back to him and she says that like he pulls her to his like side and it's just like very like this is like property.
Right.
And I just feel awful for her because can you imagine being gay and like having to like deal with an abusive guy who's probably forcing himself on you?
Nope.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, no.
Sounds awful.
No.
Ugh. Okay. So also during this, the king comes through.
Yeah. Oh,
and
God.
yeah, and he decides to make examples of people because of Sophia's run.
So
and, yeah.
He's obviously on the lookout for her.
He obviously doesn't like being like, what's it called? Like shown up by a woman.
Yeah. Everyone is kind of made to watch out for Sophia. But yeah, so then he decides to...
Time out real quick. If I say Sophie, I'm really sorry. My dog's name is Sophie, and so it's very hard for me to say Sophia. So yeah, he decides to what?
Make an example.
Of the freaking...
The dressmaker.
The dressmaker. The older dressmaker. Because her husband turned her in because he saw that Sophia was the same girl that showed up and like basically made a fool out of him. And so I have that quote because I freaking loved it. She says, so the guy is basically like, he says, the king says, "Tell me, woman, was it worth your life to help some stupid peasant escape her fate?" And she didn't help her do anything.
No.
But her husband's a jerk. She said, "If my life could serve a purpose, then let this be it. I would die to give even just 1% the chance to be free from you."
Such great parting words.
Like, yeah, like if you're gonna go like that.
Well, yeah, because she knows she's gonna die either way.
Yeah, so she might as well stay true to herself because she was like, and like even Sophia says like she can't stop thinking about her son.
Mm-hmm.
And like she feels at fault. Like she even like faints kind of, and Constance has to get her on the cart and get her to go because she's like, "No, we got to get out of here." But she's like, she feels like it was her fault. All of this, she feels like Aaron was her fault.
Right, and she's like, now that the dressmaker is dead, what is her husband gonna do? Who is he gonna take it out on now?
Mm-hmm.
The little boy.
Exactly.
Okay, so they take their cart to the woods.
Yes, they take their cart to the woods. And then we find out that Constance can make bombs. Which, yes, love that. Oh no, sorry, I forgot this one part. When the king is in the, and I feel like she did this on purpose to me. She just had to add this in here, Kalynn, because he grabs the little girl's face to watch what's gonna happen, beheading of the dressmaker, and he says, "Smile. You're so much prettier when you smile."
Oh, listen.
How many of us have heard that?
Oh my God.
So
like,
much.
Literally
it's
at
insane.
work.
This is like my
One
favorite
of my coworkers.
thing.
And I was like, "Sir, you smile.
Yeah.
You want to see a smile? You do it."
Yeah. Also, that's why I love wearing masks.
No kidding.
Because then no one can tell me to smile.
And no one talks to me.
No, exactly.
Which is my favorite part.
And I also like mouth like not nice things to people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I forgot. Sorry about that. So yeah, they go and Constance makes a little diversion with a bomb.
Right.
Because that part of the woods isn't very like heavily guarded. And they take off into the White Woods.
And it's like there's kind of a path for a while, and they have a horse and a horse and a cart. But as they get further in the woods, like the trees are closer together, there's less of a path, and there's wild animals.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the horse, which I mean, I don't like horses, but I still don't want to see an animal get attacked. Had to give its life to the wolves so that the girls could escape. I mean, Constance tries to like help the horse, or not Constance, Sophia tries to, but Constance is like, "There's tons of wolves. We have to get out of here."
Right.
And so they felt like they were walking for hours and days, and they were just exhausted. And finally, they come to a clearing.
Yeah. And
there is a shack with an old woman sitting on top of it. And yeah, so they meet the quote unquote fairy godmother.
So, okay, I have a couple different quotes. This
Go
one
ahead.
says, Anyone with eyes can see that's not the case. Oh, wait, hold on. What'd she say before that?
I had to click on it too.
Gabrielle was many things, but she was neither evil nor cruel, just as I'm sure you've never been a wish-granting fairy godmother or otherwise. Anyone with eyes can see that's not the case, but do you have any idea what I really am? The woman asks. You're a witch, Constance says. It was accusatory, almost mean, because Constance and the fairy godmother witch, Amina,
yeah.
They do not get along from the start.
No, they do not, because she blames her for her family's demise. So she's like, no, I don't like you.
This is the other little quote I pulled about the fairy godmother. Mm-hmm. The woman in the story is a nymph-like creature with wings and a wand that spews magical dust. This woman's face is crisscrossed with lines, the folds around her mouth and eyes deep. Sorry, I don't know why that stumped me, but it did.
This is descriptive. Yeah, I like it.
So, Sophia already learned from Constance that the story that she's read her whole life isn't accurate.
Yep.
And then they find the quote unquote fairy godmother, and she's nothing like a fairy godmother. And I just feel like even though she was skeptical her whole life, everything's still being turned upside down just constantly.
Oh yeah, and she's pretty good with going with the flow, but also she's just so desperate to now from right now where she's at when they meet Amina, mm-hmm. It's basically she wants to save Leal. She wants to save everyone that she loves in there, and she wants to
She wants it to be better.
Yeah, she wants to end the prince or king and be done with it. Sorry, king and be done with it. So yeah, they basically decide that, well, after a lot of bickering, they decide to first look into the future, mm-hmm. which shows 3 different things for each of one thing for each of them, which we just find out about Sophia's is that she sees a ball of light and the king around her.
Coming towards her.
Yeah. And then
a feeling of falling.
Yes.
That was the other thing.
And then after all of that, they decide that the only way they can get any answers about what happened to Cinderella is to ask Cinderella. Mm-hmm. So, necromancy! I don't know why I like necromancy.
I do too.
So, yeah, they have to gather all these herbs, and they have to travel through the White Forest to get to Cinderella's mausoleum. Sorry, mm-hmm. I'm not trying to hurry, but we've recorded for an hour.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. We always do this.
We do. That's why I said brief summary. LOL. So go to the mausoleum. They raise Cinderella and see that she looks just like Liv did.
Yeah.
And they're all shocked. And Cinderella,
because she was only supposed to be 35 or something.
She wasn't old. Because he said she died of young age, died of a mysterious illness. And so she kind of gives them help a little bit. She basically just says he's a ball of light and he's, dangerous, mm-hmm. and then she can only stay in this life for so long. Because Amina doesn't want to be tethered to her. So she cuts the cord tethering their lives. And basically the last thing she says is she tried to give Gabrielle a book, and you need to find the book because that mm-hmm. will explain.
It's her journal.
Her journal, yeah. And she tried to give it to her the night that she was taken to the castle, and they never saw her again. And so they wanted to know why she was there, mm-hmm. and they couldn't figure it out. And then finally Amina confesses that she gave the prince talked her into giving her a love potion, and so she was in love with him for a week.
Yeah, Cinderella was in love with Prince Charming just basically long enough to marry him. Yeah. And then the spell wore off and she was right back to hating him.
Yeah, because
what he had done.
And the prince told Amina that if she could just help him out that one time, he would change. Mm-hmm. And he would love her, and he would stop doing what he was doing.
Right, because he quote unquote, whatever, loved Cinderella.
Infatuated with Cinderella.
But he just wanted her to return those feelings, and then he'd be a changed man.
Yeah, which no, that wasn't going to happen.
No.
But yeah, so the spell didn't last, and then you never heard from Cinderella again. So after they do that with Cinderella, their next step is
they go back to Cinderella's house.
Yes, again. Because they think that there might be answers there. They need a place to be safe to recoup. So,
to make another plan, because now they have another mystery. Where's this journal?
Yes.
What was Cinderella trying to tell Gabrielle the night she disappeared? Mm-hmm.
And in this time, so when they're at Cinderella's house, Sophia has dreams about Aaron, about all the stuff. So she decides that she has to go, because right now her feelings for Aaron and her feelings for Constance, she's very conflicted, mm-hmm. because Aaron was her first love, but Aaron also didn't do anything to she was always afraid and stuff, mm-hmm. And Constance is very much not, I know who I am, just like
not
Sophia
at all.
Exactly. So she's I need to go see Aaron. I need to go see her to make sure she's okay, because the next mission we have is to the castle, and I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Right.
I don't know who's going to make it, but I want to make sure that I say goodbye to her. So she goes to town, and at first she goes to Liv's parents' house because she doesn't know where Aaron lives now because now she's with that guy. And so this was one of my favorites, is like Liv's parents are like, they see who she is and they just like, come in. And they're like telling her that they like care about her and they give her hugs. Like both the mom and the dad are just like, and the thing that breaks her heart is like, they're like, well, she tried. She wished really hard on the fairy godmother.
So
and she just like shook her head because like they still believe. But they also like the dad gave her a hug and the mom like kissed her on the hand and said,
well, they have other kids.
Yeah. And that's what the dad said. The dad is like, I have other daughters that I have to worry about and stuff. And like, and then the mom's like, I know that Aaron loves you and like all this stuff. And it's just like heartbreaking that at the time I was so like upset because Sophia's parents couldn't even do that for her, but Liv's did. So you knew like why Liv was such a good person.
Right.
And it just like breaks your heart even more. But they tell her where Aaron is and that she's now married.
Yep.
So then she goes to that house and Aaron comes out when she's going to come up. And this is where I'm like real confused about how Aaron acts a little bit. Because there's either two ways. It's either she is protecting Sophia because she kept looking back at the house like he was there. Or she genuinely felt that way and I couldn't decide.
I think it's a little bit of both. Okay. I mean, I think she is probably trying to protect Sophia because she knows Sophia is not like her. She knows Sophia is very rebellious and she's not going to stop. And she still cares about her, I'm sure. So she's probably like, if you don't shut up, you will be killed. Yeah. My husband will make sure of it. Yeah. But I think the other part of her, since she doesn't want to be who she is, she just wants to be left alone to just go with the flow.
And to just live in this hell.
This non-life.
Yeah, basically. And so she like yells at Sophia and like basically says like, I don't care about you, leave. And like basically Sophia was already leaning towards Constance because Constance is everything she's ever wanted.
Right. She showed her affection and stuff from the very start.
Exactly. She never had to like fight for her affection or fight for her to like her. For it. Yeah. So then she leaves, and I just didn't understand that part because it was like the Aaron at the beginning seemed like at least a little bit like caring and stuff, and at the end it's just like all of it's gone. Right. And so I wasn't sure at that point if she was like telling her to leave because her husband was listening or if she genuinely felt that way. And you're right, it's probably a little bit of both. Yeah. So yeah, Sophia leaves and is kind of like, I've got my goodbye, like this was it. Like I know Aaron probably doesn't realize it, but that was my goodbye. Like I'm going to like complete the mission that I've started out with. Yeah. So she goes back, and her and Amina and Constance make a plan to go to the castle because now the king, who is still mad that no one has found Sophia, has now made a winter solstice. Or isn't it solstice? Winter something. A winter party. A winter. I can't remember what it's called. Winter whirl.
Oh, no.
That was a dance at Elizabeth's house.
Cotillion. At my house?
At your
my high school.
At your high school.
It was a cotillion.
That's winter cotillion. So where basically he invites all the women again. The girls again, because they're, how are they, 18? 16? 16. So I should say girls. He invites all the girls again. And if they've already been picked, they get to leave. But if they haven't, they get another chance. And if not, then they're forfeit. Right away. Right. Bye.
So they make a plan in Cinderella. No. Sophia is going to go again, get all fancied up and go again. And Amina and Constance are going to be kind of waiting in the wings to
Amina's going to escort her in her disguise, and Constance is going to go around the other side of the castle trying to find a way in. Like, Sophia told her how she got out, try and find a way in. And so, Amina helps her with a little bit of magic, just like she did Cinderella that night, and gets her a gown and all this stuff. And she goes, and she's standing in line with all the girls, and the king spots her right away. And so she's like, okay, I'm ready for this. Like, I've got this, it's fine. And the king marches up to her, and they kind of had this like battle of like strengths or wits and stuff. Yeah, wills. Yeah. And it was so interesting to see. Yeah. And so they're like, they're dancing. And then all of a sudden, I can't remember what she said. She's really picking at him, saying, I know what you are, and I know what you've done. And she's not backing down from him, just like Cinderella would. And so he kind of like likes it a little bit. Yeah. In a weird way. He
likes the challenge.
He does. I think so. And so he finally like clears out the ballroom so they can be alone. And, they're then he like takes her on a tour of the grounds.
Yeah, it's like this is the one he's chosen, kind of like Cinderella, like
cat and mouse game. Yeah, it's like he likes this push and pull. Yeah. And then she gets her opportunity and she stabs him in the neck, and nothing happens.
He's not bleeding.
He's not affected. He's laughing.
Yeah, it's just like this gaping hole in his neck.
Yeah, and so that's when she's like, okay, so we didn't cover this. Constance and I didn't cover this.
This wasn't part of the plan. Yeah. I was just gonna kill him, and then that's it.
Yeah. So then he says guards, and I don't know if it was like that's when he like was like, oh, this isn't a fun game anymore. So he has the guards throw her in a cell, and there she hears that voice again, the one who told her to run the first time, and she finds out it is it Emily or Amelia? I couldn't remember. I didn't know how to say it.
I don't remember, honestly.
Had like an all over it.
Yep. Emile? Emily?
I said Emily and I said Emile sometimes, so
Emily.
I don't know.
Let's just say it's Emily.
And so it's Emily, who's actually like a friend of Constance, who's also part of the rebellion.
And she's been there for a while.
Since Cinderella first came, or Sophia's first came through. And so she basically like tells her more information about the prince and all the things. Like she's like, I've heard people try to stab him, try to hang him. Like all these women who are part of the rebellion have all tried to kill him and have been caught and like drained. She's like, he drains you of who you are. And so Sophie was trying to like understand who he is so she can kill him.
Right.
And so she is so smart and she is like, no, like, oh, I'll just pick the lock. And it's like, how am I gonna pick this lock? And finds, and like Amina. I was like, Emile? Nope. She has a hair clip and she picks her lock.
I wrote all over my hands somehow. Okay, sorry.
She picks the lock and then she tells them that she'll go find the keys and she'll be back.
Right.
And yeah, then she kind of travels through the castle and finds Cinderella's like old room. And she called it something like I can't remember. Like something like a you know how you're like stuck inside. I can't remember what she called it, but it was very beautiful, how she said it. Oh, here, this room belonged to Cinderella. Here, I knew I highlighted it. Good job, Samantha. Let's see. There's like there's dresses everywhere, but there's like a tattered dress. So she's like, oh, I definitely knew she like wore this. I thought she called it something. Her pretty prison. Oh, here we go. You'll like this. I back away from the closet. The oppressive sense of sadness washes over me. This is her gilded cage.
Yeah.
Her pretty prison. Yeah, that's what I highlighted. So, like, she basically figures out that Cinderella was a prisoner in here, and in this place, and found her bedroom,
prison cell.
Exactly. And so she's like, well, this is a good place that she might have had her journal. And so she's looking around everywhere, and her dress gets caught on a nightstand, and when she pulls it, the nightstand falls out, and and she finds the journal.
There's the journal.
And so it basically just says like Cinderella like was kind of aware when she had the love potion on her, but basically like couldn't fight it. And then when she was finally out of it, she tried to fight it as much as possible just so that she could like get the prince alone to kill him, because she still wanted to kill him, but she was like, he's not falling for my act, he's draining me, like he'll drain me and then bring me back just to drain me again, to torture me. And and so basically the last entry that was supposed to help, it says, a channel opened between us, a connection. I could see right into his blackened heart. Something invisible, something unnatural surrounds the source of the light. And now I know there's no hope for me or for anyone.
Ugh. It's so devastating.
It is, because like Cinderella is finally realizes that she's like not going to be able to get out
of
this.
She loses all hope.
Yeah. And so, so then she's basically trying to... Sorry, I get a little fuzzy after this. I just read it. So she basically read that and was like, okay, I need to figure out how to kill him.
Right.
So she like is wandering again and finds another set of prisoners.
Yes.
And is like, how many prisoners are in this place?
Right.
And she finds Luke.
Yeah, Luke's in there and he's just wasted away.
Oh yeah, he's like nothing.
Because he's been in there since
the ball. And so she knocks out the guard and finds the keys and unlocks them all, and it's like, hey, there's people like, hey, there's a bunch of other cells, like, unlock everybody. And, like, basically when she's letting Luke out, Luke's like, you're not coming with us? And she's like, no, I can't. I have something to do.
So when she finds these other people, she said, at least 40 girls and a half dozen boys stand before me.
Yes.
Where there's so many forfeits in Leal, the young woman from the first cell has looped her arm around Luke, and he leans on her. Most of them are my age or older, but a few girls couldn't be more than 11 or 12. Is this the fate of the missing girls of Leal?
Mm-hmm. My other thing is, like, one of the girls is, like, she screams when the guard is, like, she's trying to distract, she's like, the girl's like, the keys are on his belt, and she, like, knows what key, and she's like, she reminds me a lot of me, because she knew, like, where the keys were, what kind of key. And then when the guard sees Sophia, she screams to distract him. She goes, I thought someone was wrong. She's like, no, I was just distracting him. I'm like, oh my God, I like that girl. I hope that there's another story about that girl. She's great. So yeah, she helps everyone out, and then she runs into then she's trying to, like, make her way out, and then she gets locked into the ballroom with the king.
The king.
This is showdown, baby.
Right. And Amina. Because
and Constance come in too. So it's all four of them in a ballroom.
Right. And this is kind of where they find everything out. This is where everything comes to a head.
Yeah, this is the peak.
Amina lied to them the whole time. Yeah. So Constance had a reason to hate her.
Which sucks because she reminds Sophia of her grandmother. Mm-hmm. And so Sophia always had a soft spot for her. And like really like did like befriend her.
Because Amina basically led them there.
Yeah.
The king is the same. He's Prince Charming.
Yep.
Cinderella's Prince Charming.
He's always been the same. That's why there's no such thing as going and getting a new heir. He just looks different. He does something to his hair. But he has, like, if you look at all the pictures in the castle of the different kings, it's all him.
Right.
It's
all
all
the
Prince
same
Charming.
Eyes.
And, yeah.
He takes these girls that are forfeits and drains their life force so that he can stay alive.
Yes. And then you find out that Amina and Prince Charming look really similar.
Amina's his mom.
Yep, that's her son.
And I don't know how he was killed originally. I don't know if they say.
They don't say, but they say, because they were like, oh, I thought the reason you worked with the prince the first time is because you saved him. He saved you. And she's like, well, kind of true, kind of not, but I was strung up because necromancy is frowned
it's
upon.
Her son. So he got killed, and she brought him back to life.
Yep, and so he saved her after that.
And the reason they're both still alive is because her book, when it talks about necromancy, it says whoever raises the person from the dead is bound to that person.
Yes, so that's the reason he's still alive, and that's the reason she's still hanging on, is because they're both bound together. And it's devastating. And they're talking or whatnot, and Amina has Cinderella's dagger with the rose quartz stone on it, and she goes at Sophia, who's already been drained by the king already, so she's dizzy out of it. She goes at her, and she all of a sudden gets the wind knocked out of her, and you see it's pain. And what does she say? She says something like, I hope you can forgive me, or something like that. And then puts the dagger in Sophia's hands and passes away, because Constance is really good with a sword, really good with the dagger,
her right through with it,
and that's her girl. She's not going to let you attack her.
Right,
she's awesome. So yeah, so I don't know. I just, in that point, I think that Amina did it on purpose, and she's awesome.
Yeah, I think she just, like, the whole time was kind of playing both sides.
I think so.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was like she didn't know what, she wanted to do the right thing, but she didn't know what the right thing was. And I'm sure because she's in that position, like, it's her son.
Yeah.
But also she can see all the terrible things he's done.
Yeah, exactly. So that happens, and then
so now that she's dead, he can die.
He can die. So he already starts, like, decomposing. But there's a blast. I can't remember why. But Constance gets shot one way, and Sophia gets shot another way. And the prince or the king, whichever, is coming after her. And so they're like fighting, and he's like, well, basically like, I'm dying, but I still have enough in me to, and he never told Amina how he does it.
Right.
He figured it out all on his own and wouldn't tell her. So we really don't even know how he figured it out. But I think he like presses his lips to the girls.
Yeah, somehow he sucks their life force from them.
Yes. And so he's like, I'm dying, but I'm taking you with me. And so she knows she's going to die. And then she remembers that she has the dagger. And I think the quartz, I didn't really understand this, but I think the quartz is what really saved her because it shielded her. It was like, she said it was a protection spell on it. And so the quartz like severed the light and protected her from him. And so then he just withered away and died. And then she was like, for good measure, I'm going to light your ashes on fire.
Right. And then she sets everyone free in the cage.
She wanted to set the whole thing on fire, like Constance said. And then, she goes back up. And there's girls in the cages. I have to go get them. And so she goes, and there's a bunch of keys, and she sits there and opens each one. And on the last one is when the smoke takes her over and she passes out. And then the next chapter, she wakes up outside, and Constance saved her because that was her dream. Constance found her in smoke, and that was her dream, so she knew she had to be there.
Yep.
And so then the prince is dead. The king is dead, and the castle's on fire, and everyone who was at the ball is just standing out in the courtyard.
And then they're kind of like, well, what do we do if the prince is dead? Yeah. There's no heir. Like, what do we do?
And so the guys who had come and were being gross start trying to argue because, like, Constance and Sophia are like, no, like, she's like, I killed the prince, and I'm like, whatever, we're not going to let this happen. None of the rules are going to happen.
We're not going right back to what we were.
We're not doing this. And like one girl was like getting held by the guy, and she's like, are you happy? Do you want to be there? Because you don't have to be there anymore. Right. And the girl's like, okay, I'm not going to be here then. And all the families show up and start taking their children back. Like the 16-year-olds are going with their families and stuff. And Constance kind of shows her brute force by a guy who steps up, and she's like, do you want me to stab you? Because I'll stab you.
Right, no kidding.
And so then Sophia's parents show up, and I thought it was bittersweet. Yeah. Like, they're happy she's alive. And obviously, I like her mom way more.
Right. Her parents definitely thought she was dead. Yeah. So then it kind of flashes forward, and Constance is like the new ruler.
Yeah, kind of. She appoints 7 other people, like a council with her, because she was the rightful heir. And they're just basically, they said they only care about the people, both women and children, or women and children and men. And everyone has the same rights. And some of those people, like the 2 bad brothers and a bunch of other people, tried to rebel. And Emily and the rest of them kind of just ended that right there. Right. And so it's kind of a whole new life for everyone in Leal. And then they're going to try to do it with everyone else because the prince/king is gone. Right. And it's a whole new, way of life.
Yeah. And I really love the last lines of the book.
Me too. I think it needs to be on a shirt. Okay. Yes. You Sam.
Do not be silent. Raise your voice. Be a light in the dark.
Yes.
I love it so much.
Me too. I love that. So the end. That is, it's been an hour and 20 minutes, guys, and we're not even doing our questions.
We should have just read it to you.
Next time we'll go reading with Our Life and Books, and we'll read it to you, and I will not be reading out loud. You'll have to read in my mind. No. So yeah, that was Cinderella by Kalynn Bayron, and then we have about 16 questions that we like to go over. No, 18. Sorry. And kind of just like go really quickly through them. Yes. Quickly, quickly. So this might be a long episode.
So by quickly, we mean we're just going to do it.
You know what?
It's going to take the time it takes.
Enjoy cleaning your house. Enjoy the car ride. Enjoy work. That's boring. We get it. We're here forever.
Favorite character?
So I put Sophia because she's the lead, but my others are Constance and Luke.
Yeah, I think Luke is one of my favorite side characters.
Side characters. Yes.
He is one. I wish we had more. You know what I mean? I really wish we had more with Luke. I would read a book that was just Luke's story.
Me too. I really liked him.
Like about, what happened to him when he was in
and also what happens next, because they don't tell me what happens next. Does he find another love?
Right.
What happens for Luke?
Right.
I need to know.
I need more Luke.
Yes, I love Luke. Okay.
Least
favorite.
Edward.
Oh, see, I couldn't think of his name. Edward, I put Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then the king. I mean, some are obvious, like the king. But
yeah, like that's too obvious. But I just feel like, okay, so the king had motivation to be awful, right? Because he had to stay alive.
Yes.
But Edward has no freaking motivation at all. He's just terrible because he's terrible.
Yes. And I'm not trying to, like, shame Aaron. I just think that, like, her, like, arc as a character went from up to down. And I just felt like at the end, like, she was still her friend. Mm-hmm. And she didn't support her friend.
So my thing with Aaron is, like, part of me, like, I'm happy that Sophia's moved on enough that we don't even get mention of Aaron.
No, nothing. That's another question. You can't skip that.
Oh, that's one of the questions? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get out of here. But no, like, that's why I'm like, I'm sorry if people liked Aaron, but, like, that's why it's because her character arc for me went down, and it's not even a relationship. At the end of the day, you were her best friend, and you don't care, like, to say, like, I love you, but, like, I'm, you know what I mean? She just couldn't even be truthful with her at the end. She just yelled at her and made her feel like crap. Mm-hmm. Just made me mad. Okay. 3, hypothesis of the title and how it pertains to the book. We usually just have this with everything.
Yeah.
Did you not read the questions, Pam?
No.
Okay. I put Cinderella is.
Did you call me Pam?
I said ma'am.
I said Pam. Oh my god.
Which one would you like, Pam or ma'am? Neither.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. We did this for the other ones because it kind of like made sense.
You know, I feel like it fits with like the ending of the book where they're like, guys, Cinderella's dead. Why are we still trying to relive her story? You know?
Shut up. That's such a good analogy. That's not what I wrote. But I didn't know. I didn't know what to write. I put Cinderella dying marked the horrible changes in Leal. Cinderella's story is what also saved them all. Because at the end, it was like her actual, we kind of skipped over that, but her actual real story about what happened and her journals will also save them. Yeah. But I like what you said.
Well, I like what you said.
All right. What's next?
Favorite part.
So my favorite part, and I know it's weird, but my favorite part in the book was when Sophia at the first ball, because it's when like everything started and you got to see like the awful plus like the beauty of it, and then you go inside and it's like not beauty. Yeah. And like all the like just the way that like Kalynn like described like the beauty of it. Mm-hmm. I just really liked that part.
Aw,
yeah. And then plus it's like the anticipation. Like the anticipation has led to this moment. Right. And it's like going. You don't know what's happening. So that's what my favorite part was. I like that. What'd you put in your brain?
I think my favorite is like when they are all in Cinderella's house making their plans.
Yeah, that's a good
because, you know, they're just kind of living their life, but they're also like they're working together. I mean, mostly Constance and Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia has to be the mediator between those two, though, because they also want to kill each other most of the time.
But I think I could have read like a lot more chapters of just the three of them, just like, you know, planning and living their day to day
dynamics.
Like, you know, Sophia learning how to use a dagger and all that kind of.
Oh, I like that. Okay, describe this book in 3 words.
Out. You skipped.
I did.
Favorite.
Oh, dang. Sorry. Okay, least favorite part. Okay, and I know that's probably awful, but when they were having to get the stuff for the potion for the I don't know, what is the verb of necromancy? I put necromance. When they were gonna necromance Cinderella.
Raise her from the dead?
Necromance.
They're gonna romance her neck. That's what Alex said the first time I said necromancy to him. He's like, I don't know what you're saying. What is that word? And I'm like, necromancy. He's like, romancing someone's neck? I'm like, no! What? How have you never heard this word? I know you've heard it before. Am I saying it wrong?
So I thought of when they had to make a potion, when they were like making the potion, not when they went to necromance Cinderella. I'm going to use that from now on. But when they were making the potion, I don't know. It was just like, I felt like I was just too anxious about the whole thing. I'm like, just get to it. Or Sophia's last visit with Aaron just made me very confused.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say for my least favorite.
Yeah, it's confusing. I was like, where was the Aaron that actually gave a crap about her in the market?
It's so sad.
And then Aaron blames Sophia for the dressmaker's death. Like, are you joking? Like, did you want her to die then? Like, I don't understand what you wanted her to do. Right. And you're not doing anything.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, that's my least favorite part for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
Describe this book in 3 words.
Yes. So I put anger, sadness, hope. Because that's how I felt for the whole thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Rebellion.
Yes. I try to think of a one word for like go women, girl power. I was gonna put girl dash power, but I was like, that's not one word.
Oh, what do I want to say? Like skepticism.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like that's like the big thing is if they weren't,
If they didn't like
if
question
Sophia,
things.
Yeah, Sophia didn't question anything. Like she would have just been married off,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. I don't know.
Girl power.
Yeah.
Girl dash power. One word.
Girl dash power.
Yeah, just like them, you know.
Yeah. Feminist.
Feminist. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
All right. What other book does this book remind you of?
The Grace Year.
That's what I wrote. That's what I wrote.
It's like the girls getting ready for the ball,
like
and
having
the
to
girls
be cleaned up and lined up.
lining up, and then if they don't have a husband, then they're banished.
Well, and also like there's older men in the line who like banish their other wives so they can have younger. Like
right, it reminded me so much of the Grace
There.
Year. I wrote that too because I was like, where did I write that?
I don't know where I wrote mine either. I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because it's like, oh, it just makes me so mad. But like, ugh, just makes me mad.
Right.
The whole like men in charge, women are
they're
subservient.
buying them. They're buying the women. That's what's happening.
And it makes me angry.
Favorite quote.
Okay. And I didn't. I think I
so many quotes.
You have to pick one. I skipped this one. I'm glad you didn't say it either. Okay. Oh no, I said it. Dang it. Okay, well, whatever. Constance says the palace underestimates the resourcefulness of women forced into a dark and dangerous place. And I feel like that's us right now. Us women, especially black women, pushed into a dark and dangerous place.
Mm-hmm.
Get it.
Black women, black trans women.
Black trans women. Yeah.
Ooh, I like this. I can't blame her, but that's not for me. I don't want to be saved by some knight in shining armor. I'd like to be the one in the armor, and I'd like to be the one doing the saving.
Yes.
I love it so much.
I feel that so much.
Oh, I love it.
Like, I just feel that in every day. Like, we don't need saving.
Right.
We didn't ask you to try and be a knight in
and
shining
here's the
armor.
thing. Okay, sometimes I do want to be saved, but sometimes can I save you too?
Oh, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Like, it's fine. You could save me sometimes, but can I save myself sometimes? And also I can save you.
That's equality,
and
man. That's
yeah.
equality. What feelings did this... Oh, I think I read the wrong ones, guys. Gosh darn, I can't read. So what feelings did this invoke? Sorry. Describe the book in 3 words. My 3 words were Samantha can't read her handwriting. They're beautiful, inspiring, and magical.
Oh.
So the 3 feelings I got were anger, sadness, and hope.
Gotcha.
Sorry. Dang it.
A lot of anger. There was a lot of anger.
I felt, and I cried, guys. I don't usually cry. And I cried.
I don't think I cried. I mean, I felt a lot of things, but I didn't cry.
Like, I teared up.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, to like have like being lined up, like so many women now feel like they have to like do that. And it just like makes me upset.
Right.
So what feelings did you have about this book? Anger?
A whole lot of anger.
A whole lot of anger.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a hope at the end, but still.
Well, and still throughout it was like hope, like a little bit of hope.
Just a tiny little glimmer of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was mostly anger.
Yeah. I'm just mostly angry, kitty. Okay, so these are like the questions about the book usually. These are like general questions at the beginning. Okay. Was the king's power a surprise to you?
I mean, so when she first saw Liv's body and her hair was white and stuff, and then there was hints that there was kind of hints throughout that the king didn't age. I was like, okay, he's somehow taking these women's like age from them. Yeah. Their youth from them.
Yeah. That didn't surprise me. What surprised me was the whole like son tethered part. I didn't get that. And Kalynn was like spelling it out for us in the Cinderella thing, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're tethered to whoever you necromance.
Yeah, we're gonna have that as on a t-shirt. Necromance. It's a verb. To necromance.
To romance the neck.
Okay. Which character do you most identify with?
Okay, I don't think you're gonna like this.
If you say Aaron, I'm gonna hit you.
I really want to say Aaron because I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot better about like standing up for myself and having my own voice and stuff. But I think had I been in this society at 16, I probably would have been a lot like Aaron.
Okay. That makes sense. But you don't recognize... Okay, so Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Because I think it would just be so hard to do what Sophia did.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I feel like I would be a lot like Aaron, where I'd be like, well, you know,
You're
like,
just gonna go
this
with
is
it.
my life.
Yeah. I put Constance.
Yeah.
Because she's very blunt.
Yeah.
And very, hard-headed? Hard-headed. Stubborn. I am stubborn. So, yeah, I really liked her. I liked Constance, and I felt like I hope that I could identify her with her. I really like Sophia, but I don't know if I could have done it either.
No, I just
feel
like I don't like the way Aaron acted, but I feel like I can sympathize with her a lot.
I sympathized with her up until the last time they met. And even sometimes I did, but the fact that there was no empathy is what really got me. It felt very cold.
Well, and
I think it was probably on purpose.
Yeah, that's where I kind of think she was like
trying to save
push
her.
Sophia away so that Sophia could at least have a life.
Oh,
like she would resign herself to her life.
Yeah,
but she knows that Sophia is different. So go be different. If you can do it, go.
And she didn't want Sophia to keep coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't like that.
I know.
Okay, what's the next one?
Whose side was Amina on at the end? The witch.
See, I vote she was on the girl's side because I think that her spirit reminded her of Cinderella, because her and Cinderella were close.
Mm-hmm.
Until she was fooled by her son.
Right.
And I also think because of the whole dagger thing. Because at the end when she says, I saw this coming, I'm sorry, and like gives her the dagger. Like she knew she was going to die, but I don't think she wanted to like kill herself. I think she wanted it to be this way.
I wonder too if she was kind of like she's over 200 years old.
Yeah.
Like she's ready to be done.
Uh-huh.
Like, I just imagine, because she already looks like an old woman. Yeah, she takes potions so she doesn't turn into ash.
Yeah. But without the disguise, though, she looks like decrepit. Like, she looks like a brown
So I feel
pile
like,
of growth.
I imagine she's just, like, exhausted and ready to be done with this life.
And she's just living.
And so it was
she's just reliving all of the things she did wrong.
Right. So it's like, here's this one last thing I can do.
To, like, help.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is because when Sophia and the Prince King are fighting, she mentions necromancing Cinderella, and that shocks him.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Mother," and then he goes, I wonder whose side she was on at the end, because like that's where I think that like she went towards the girl's side a little bit more. I think she was still playing it like pretty close to the chest, but if she saw that's how she was gonna die,
right,
then her future and her heart knew that she was gonna like end the son's reign.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think happened to Aaron? Yeah, this is gonna be a different one. I don't know. Now that you're Aaron. I'm just kidding.
No,
I wrote, I think she continued to be lost. I don't like the brothers got exiled, or like they had to like pay for it because they rebelled, so they had to pay for their crimes. But I think she continued to be lost. I hope that she found happiness, but she seemed very lost. I think it would probably take her a very long time.
Yeah.
Plus, I can't think of the word. Adured? Nope.
Endured?
Endured. Thank you. Adured. Adured.
It's a dirt. It's a plane. It's Superman.
She dealt with a lot of abuse, and so I think that it's going to take her a lot longer. And I also think just like her sexuality and like where she's at with her, you know, who she wants to be with, I think she just like was still lost.
I feel like Erin would be best off if she left Leal and went to one of the other cities that probably didn't have as strict of rules because they were under the direct reign of the king.
Yeah, because you don't know how the other kingdoms were. You heard that the kingdoms went and praised the prince, but like you don't know.
Right. So I feel like she'd be better off kind of like starting all new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't mean it. I understand why we don't hear from her, because like Sophia, it's about Sophia's story, and like her and Aaron are done. Yeah. But like it makes me sad that we don't hear about her or like what happened with Luke. We've been talking for 2 hours. What happened with Luke? I kind of want to know what happened to him too.
Yeah, like I said, I could read a whole another book about Luke. Yes, I am
down about that. Okay. All the characters are black, and there were comments you heard about blackwashing, quote unquote. Why is it important to write stories with all black characters, in our opinions?
Because every other story has all white characters.
That's what I said. I said it's important because show that there's a bunch of black characters. White authors have been doing that for centuries.
Right.
And, like, honestly, when you're reading a book, like, it's from the author's point of view. So whatever they want to do is what they want to do. Let them live their life.
So don't read the book if you don't like that. You know what I mean? Just like the TV shows you don't want to watch and the things you don't want to see on Facebook. Like, keep scrolling.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Read another book. But
like, does it hurt the story? Does it change it in any way?
No.
It just,
I mean, yes. It makes it more accessible for more people and more people can see themselves. But
it doesn't change it for us. We still loved it.
Right.
It's called... we need to see more black characters and more black characters in main roles, and if they're all in the entire book, then good. We need more of that.
Black kids need to see themselves.
Exactly. Not even the main character, but the side character. Every character, they need to look around and see what they see in their community.
Right.
The end. Okay. What other books does this author have? Would you read another book by this author? So we thought this was her debut.
Yeah, I really did.
And I found one other book series that she wrote back in 2015, 16. 6 Points of Light series. One is Hook's Origin, and the other one is The Lost Sons.
I really want to read this.
Me too. I'm a big Peter Pan. I'm a big. I did my freaking art minor freaking graduate stuff on Peter Pan and the history of it. Thank you, art school. But yeah, I really want to read this, but I'm really excited because I feel like now that I really want to see like more of her. Yeah. I think she has a strong voice.
Like more retelling.
Yes.
I mean, maybe she doesn't want to go down that lane, but one of your next questions.
Yes, read the next question.
That.
Read it. Read it.
There was mention of a magical mirror. Do you think that's foreshadowing to another book with a Snow White story? I really hope it is.
I hope so too.
Like I said, I don't know if she wants to get like put in some category about I write retellings, but
could be part of this series. She could do another series without it. But like I'm saying, they talked about it in there, and I was like, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
In the story, Constance has a book that has other fairy tales in it. So yeah.
And like I kind of hope that the girl who's mouthy in the top of the tower is like Snow White or another like person. It doesn't even have to be like a famous retelling, but it can be something. Yeah. Just more. I want more of this world, and I want like more of like what's happening in other kingdoms.
Yeah. I think it would be cool if it was not a series necessarily, but what do you call that? Like where it's in the same world, but it's either way, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's what we want. Same world, different books. Yeah. Book recommendations for people who read this book and liked it and want more. Grace Year, and I wrote, and I've never read them, but the Lunar Chronicles, if you like retellings, those are amazing. Marissa Meyer's amazing. So
Cinderella. I think it's funny. The books that we have read for our deep dives like this are all very similar. So the Grey Sisters, you might even be a good comp for this. Honestly, it's not a retelling,
but it has strong feminine leadership. Females that are under gross male dominance. I don't know. Yeah. And it's basically about women's freaking power, man. I can't say what I want to say right now.
Women's rights, women, yeah.
It's cussy. You can go to After Hours.
It's cussy.
It's cussy. So go to After Hours on our Patreon. Come check us out because I want to say some things. Okay, so then any quotes or sayings we thought from the book that were amazing. We kind of read them all this time. I kind of think we should do that more often. Kind of refer to our notes. But yeah. I don't know. Final thoughts? It was amazing. I would read it again tomorrow. That's how good it was.
I really, really liked it.
It was inspiring.
I'm trying to think of what else I wrote. Oh, I said I love that it's a standalone because there's so many YA fantasy books that are series. Yeah. And I love series, but I feel like I just don't have the time for them sometimes.
And you have to reread them if it's a long time. And also, this could be like a part of like a series that doesn't need like, what is it called? What I just read? Whatever. I was going to say like, it's a series. If she made it into a series, it could be like a standalone book.
Yeah. Each of them in the same world, but you don't have to read the other ones. So,
those are the best. But the colors and like the vibrancy of everything mixed with like, I think you said that with like the beauties or the bells, sorry. Yeah. The bells. It kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, the bells could be a good
bells, yes. Go read the bells. I have it on I ordered it. It's coming soon because it reminded me of this, the way you spoke about it. And I was like, I want to read it right now.
My only like little caveat for this book is I said I kind of wish it was longer just because I wish we had a little bit more.
I slammed my water bottle on purpose. I thought she was going to say something naughty.
No, I wish we had a little bit more of the like building of the romance between Constance and Sophia. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like I said, those were my favorite parts is when they're in Cinderella's house and they're like planning and like, you know, like the montage of them like doing all the things to get ready.
Yeah.
I kind of wish there was a little bit more of like the buildup of their relationship in that.
I really liked it. I think that if I want anything, I would like to know Luke's story.
Yes.
And I want to know what happened to Aaron. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't want Liv to die.
Right.
That broke my freaking heart. Because I liked Liv because she was so innocent. And I think that was the point, is that she showed the innocence that were being taken. And it just crushed my soul.
Well, because she's only 17. It's not like she's going to be this old maiden that's a drain on society.
Right.
Like, she's 17. Let her live her life.
They're so young. We were so naive in 17 and 18. Like, are you kidding me? So I really liked it. I can't wait to read more from her. I honestly cannot wait.
Yeah. More Luke, please.
Yes, please Luke, or please a Snow White. Something with, it doesn't even be Snow White, but a retelling with that mirror. Hear about other kingdoms and what's going on. The world that she created is so amazing, and I can't wait. I can't wait for more.
She can expand so much.
Yes, please. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. This is our first like live deep dive. It's probably been about 2 hours. No, 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Hey.
Give or take a couple minutes that
you're gonna have to edit out.
I have to edit out.
Find those bloopers on Patreon.
Yeah. Our next book is Don't Ask Me Where I'm From by Jennifer D. Leon. If you want to go buy it, check it out at your local library. It comes out August 4th. Yep. And that's the next book we're going to do. I hope you guys like this kind of thing. Yeah. We did a couple on Patreon, and we just really enjoy them. We enjoy talking about books, really deep diving into it. It's really fun.
It is fun.
And then if you guys want to join us, we'll be like a book club.
Yeah.
And let us know if you've read it, if you're going to read it. So, yeah.
Book club.
Book club. All of our social medias are down below as always, as well as our links. I'm working on a website. Give me time. Well, we really think that we should have a website so you guys can like email us in. Like, we really want to start maybe doing some like listener short stories, poems, kind of hear from you guys who are so creative.
Right. Yeah. Talk to us about this book. If you read it, we want to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
Tell us what you thought about it.
Exactly. And I want to say a quick thank you to our patrons, Nicole and Hannah.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you supporting the podcast and help us do what we love to do, which is talk about books.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
We did it.